All right, everyone. Well, welcome to this week's podcast of Life is Better with You in It, because life really is better with you in it. And I'm here to bring amazing humans who are doing great things in the world. And I want everyone to meet Monica, who's the CEO of Spousely. Hi, Monica.
Hey Jen, thanks for having me.
You got it. And so I'm going to let Monica introduce what Spousely is and, why she even started this in the first place. So, Monica, tell me what you're doing for the military community. Small question.
Okay, well, it's a bit of a loaded question, but I will give you the high level overview on it. So, hi everyone, I am Monica Fullerton. I am a proud Air Force spouse, a twin mom, and a corporate businesswoman turned entrepreneur out of my own pure frustration and inspiration. So, as we know, as a military spouse, it's a rewarding yet challenging journey. And my story is very similar to many others in the space's story as well. And it all started after I had finished my master's. I ended up getting back together with my high school sweetheart, that was not in my plan. And I never saw that one coming. But he was getting ready to commission into the Air Force. And I just remember thinking at that time, what am I doing? How is this happening? I'm a planner. I strategically picked where I went to college for a reason. I wanted to be in South Florida so I could have a broadcasting and communications career. I always said I wanted to be the next Oprah because I was always just so inspired by how she brought people together to share their stories, like the real stories, and that inspiration that can help us all keep pushing forward on our journey. So long story short, got back together with my high school sweetheart. He commissioned into the Air Force. I started living the military life. We got stationed at our first duty station in San Antonio, Texas. And I remember feeling so lost. I remember thinking, who am I? Like, what kind of job am I going to get now that I can't really pursue a broadcasting career, knowing that we're going to possibly be moving every 2 to 3 years? So I just went into interview after interview. I was applying for things that I had no idea what they were. But as we know, we have to find something that provides the flexibility that we need.
Yep.
And ended up in a logistics career. And I remember thinking, what is logistics? I have no idea what that means, what that job would look like. But I got very lucky. I started, working for them, and it was an amazing company and culture. I was very close with the owner, ended up opening a lot of new doors, making a 6-figure salary, working remote, with Fortune 500 companies. So from like a checkbox standpoint, I made it happen. It looked great. Yeah. I was doing so many awesome things, but the passion was missing. And after I had the twins, I was like, why can't us military spouses be able to do something that we truly love while living a life on the go and juggling all the things that, the military life throws our way?
Everything.
I was like, there has to be a way. And I owned a small business at the time with my mother-in-law. We were doing some apparel branded items and things like that. And it was so fun. I had so much fun with it. I loved connecting with customers. I loved creating the marketing and the products and all of that. So I knew what a small business, provided to us in our community. I started doing my research on the space, and I saw that there were over millions and millions of businesses owned by military and first responder families. So I wanted to, isn't that crazy? Millions, not talking thousands, we're talking millions. And I wanted to be able to bring everybody together on one platform for people to shop and support and learn about how inspiring our community is. So long story short, I created Spousely, which is basically an online marketplace to shop a wide variety of both products and services, all created by military and first responder families.
That's awesome. I feel like that flexibility to be on the go is something that is like a requirement of a military spouse. And I keep thinking about that word of pivoting. Like,
yes,
we're always pivoting. And
I say pivoting is our middle name. Yeah. It literally is. And it's our game.
It is. Yeah. It is. And it's like, I feel like there's no way around pivoting but through it, because you just have to make a decision on the fly and go. And we need businesses, and we need to have businesses that can make those decisions. I've been out on my own for a year and a half, and I can take this with me anywhere. I've taken
Yep.
this business right on my computer screen on vacation, because I can't help myself, and I work early mornings before the boys get up, and then I enjoy the beer on the beach later, and
Yes.
I take it back home when I go visit, because I think that I craved, as a military spouse, being able to have a job kind of on my own terms, and
Yep.
know that, like, when my husband was in a workup, or when he was on deployment, and then it got extended during COVID, which was
Yeah.
wild times.
Yep.
And then, knowing that they have all these work trips or VIPSAs, and the never ending working late for training, have to have requalified in this. I needed a job that I could mold like Play-Doh whenever I
Right.
needed to.
And be
Oh,
able to do what you loved as well.
correct.
Because
Correct.
we know how important that piece is. At the end of the
Yeah.
day, burnout can be real when we are trying to juggle it all. And there's so many different factors, but flexibility, stability, and really that creative outlet when needed most. And that creativity comes from doing something that we love and something that we're passionate about.
Yeah, for sure. So, how do you think that Spousely helps the military community? What do you think it does for the military community? And what's your platform? What are you trying to tell everybody?
Yes. So, the best way to think about Spousely is basically like Etsy meets Angie's List, but with a focus on shopping for social good and supporting our nation's heroes. And we have just continued to prove that our mission is viable and it's impactful. We launched right before the pandemic.
Mm,
Great timing.
yeah.
um,
Goodness.
But we were talking about this offline a little bit. Like everything happens for a reason, and I feel like now more than ever, from a consumer side, people are looking for more ways to put their hard-earned dollars towards something more impactful. And from a vendor side, honestly, it's bringing our community together in more ways than I could have ever imagined. We have, vendors supporting other vendors. We have vendors meeting up in person. We have, vendors starting businesses to just be on Spousely because they want to be around like-minded individuals. And, we hear all the time that there's just so much magic happening within the Spousely community. And it's only going to continue to make a greater impact as we grow and build from the ground up together. But, really tackling a number of different things. It's not just about entrepreneurship. It's really about bridging the gap between a very high unemployment rate in our community. It's been like 24% for nearly a decade. We talked about really not being able to align a passion with being able to, put that into a job or a career. So
Yep.
Spousely has really become, that go-to from both a consumer and a vendor standpoint to not only learn more about the power of community, the power of what we're able to do together, but to understand what we're capable of and that we can take control of our own destiny, even though sometimes we feel like we're taking a back seat. But our core focus will always be military spouses because we are the ones that oftentimes are trying to piece the puzzle together the most. But we do have veterans, we have service members, we have Gold Star families, first responder families. So we really do have that nice mix of everybody in all the different worlds together.
I think that as a military spouse, and knowing military spouses in the area, I think that the one thing we crave the most is being able to find community. Because
Yes.
when you pack up your stuff, you go somewhere else, you got to start over, right?
Yeah.
Like you have to start over. But I think Spousely is probably a great outlet for military spouses and these veterans and people who have gone through some of the same trials and some of the same situations to be able to connect on a better level, right? Like I think there's nothing better than in person. There's
Yeah.
nothing. I've lived in the remote world. I've lived in the in-person world. There's nothing
Yes.
better than in person. But to be
Yeah.
able to have some sort of outlet like Spousely, I think is changing the face of like what it means to be a military spouse, really.
I couldn't agree more. And that's something we're always talking about is really changing, the narrative, really showing what the modern day military spouse looks like. Because as we both know, there's sometimes a bias around our community. And we had talked about it, like you go into a job interview and it's
Yep.
like, should I tell them I'm a military spouse?
Right.
Should I not tell them I'm a military spouse?
Yep.
it shouldn't be like that. It should not have to be like that. It should be something that companies see as an opportunity for innovation, an opportunity for growth, and for really making a difference in a more impactful way. So both, like I said, from, a corporate standpoint, from a entrepreneur standpoint, or whatever your situation might be, the power is in our community.
Yeah, I 1000% agree. So tell us tips for being a business owner and tips for being a military spouse. Those might be the same tips, or those might be like different tips, but what are some tips for some people who are listening today who either own their own business, they're a military spouse like us, or they're thinking about starting a business and thinking there's more out there. Where's
Yeah.
that more? How do I get there? So tell us any tips or things that might be helpful.
Ooh, I got a lot of them. First of all, one,
You're like, where's my bag?
yeah,
Where's my
right.
bag?
Okay, I'll give you a couple
Okay.
that I've personally gone through and have experienced and have seen just how impactful they are on this journey. So the first one is growth begins when comfort ends. And that is something I am living and breathing. And it, like, honestly, leaving corporate, going into entrepreneurship has been the hardest and scariest thing I've ever done. And I literally thought having twins was going to be, hard and scary, but going from stability to the unknown of really putting the power in yourself and what you're able to do, it's scary.
So scary.
You have to step outside of your comfort zone in order to get to where you want to go. Because if we always stay in our comfort zone, we're never going to keep learning and growing and becoming the person that we want to be. The next one is you don't know what you don't know.
Oh, that one hurts. That one hurts because
that
those
one
failures, man, they set in for the long haul.
Yeah, that one is very painful on so many different fronts, whether it's in life or in business. And, I feel like it hits a lot harder in business only because there's so many things that you're constantly learning as you go. And really, honestly, your failures become your biggest stretch forward because even though at the time you're going through something, you feel like, how am I going to keep pushing forward? Or I just lost X amount of money on this poor decision, or, this wasn't the right fit or whatnot. It really allows you to take a step back and to really see what direction you're headed and how you can keep building that stronger foundation forward. So I've learned so much from the mistakes I've made over the past almost 4 years since launching Spousely. And it's been incredible to just see what we're capable of as humans and how we're able to get right back up after we've been knocked down. I think that's really, really important. And let's see, I'll share one more. And this is a question I get asked all the time. How did you know when the right time was to start a business?
There's never a right time.
There is never a right time.
No.
There's never a right time. So for anybody listening or anybody, considering taking this path or, making a pivot in your career or whatever that might be, there really is no right time. You just have to go for it. Perfection is definitely not the key to success.
No, when I decided I was going to go out on my own, I remember having an interview and I had some things happen after I left a company, went to another company, left that company. Wild times. And I feel like when you have those seasons of change during those years, like they feel like they change you forever. And I feel changed forever. And so I applied for this job, didn't get the job. And I told my husband, I said, listen, if I don't get this job, I really want it. But if I don't get it, I'm going to start my own company.
Yeah.
And he goes, okay. So it's 2 days after Christmas. And he goes, so you didn't get the job? I said, no. And he goes, so you said you were, I said, I know what I said.
Yeah.
And then 20 days later, like I signed the paperwork and did the online registration, right? Had to Google how to even do that because you don't know what you don't know. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to make this official. Yeah. And then from then on, I made $50 and I have not looked back, but no one, I don't mean this in a bad way, but I think no one supported me until I supported me. Like I can talk all day long about having all these ideas, but until I did it and just put it into motion myself, like no one gave me permission to say, Jen, go ahead and start a recruiting business.
Yeah.
Probably no one looked at you and said, hey, I think there's this need for this type of business. Go ahead and open Spousely. You have permission now. Like there's no one giving you that permission. And I don't know why I looked for it, but I looked for it. And then all of a sudden I get a big box that comes probably 3 weeks after I've started. So I'm brand new baby. I'm hardly making any money, but I'm just trying and putting stuff out to the world.
Yeah.
And this big box comes and it's brand new t-shirts, it's pens, it's business cards. My mom's like, you said it was real. And I'm like, well, now I can't not do this because I have apparel.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Hey, that's a good way to get you really going. Because I mean, it's not cheap to get that branded things and everything. Like you've got to keep going for it.
Yeah. And so I was like, well, I have a uniform now. And so this is real. And then I felt like I would put on the shirts and then I felt like I was a different person. Like I put on the shirt and I was like, okay, I'm working for Brand New today. But like no one gave me that permission. And even as like being a military spouse and having all the jobs that I've had probably, gosh, over 12 different jobs in my time, just working like different places, like walking in like the old school way, right? Walked in, hey, I just moved here. I'm looking for a role. I'll work anything. What do you got for me? And like all of those experience, I feel like finally led me to this, right? I don't know if this whole work remote and being online in business would have been a thing when I started and first got married, but I was just like you. I kind of walked into like this marriage and I was like, oh no. So I got to make new friends and I got to get myself a job. And I don't know anyone out here. So like, we're gonna make it work. But I feel like you find that community and then it's like, all right, I'm going to latch on and hold on tight.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And I think that what you just shared is so incredible of just going with it and just continuing to believe in yourself, because that is something that I've learned and that I continue to tell myself, because it's so easy to tell somebody else, keep going, you're amazing, like, oh, you've got this incredible talent and everything, because that's just a lot of times our nature. We want to help support others, but we sometimes forget about ourselves and how to support ourselves. And if nobody's going to believe in us if we don't believe in ourselves. And you have to test so many new levels of confidence and grit and just that constant, pushing yourself forward, because it is a roller coaster. I mean, I'd be lying if I sat here and we talked about just all the sunshine and rainbows of this journey, because that's not reality. And everybody has their different version of what success looks like. And I think that is one of the biggest and most important things, is that everybody defines success differently. And I think that's part of what's wrong with our society today, is we're always constantly trying to measure our success against someone else's. And that is the biggest mistake that we can make, because everybody has a different definition of what success looks like for them, and that is something I tell people all the time. I tell our vendors or anyone that I chat with is really sit down and understand, what does success look like for you? Stay on that path and don't worry about what anybody else is doing, what somebody else's success looks like, because you can't compare yourself. Just not, it's not healthy. It's not good. It'll veer you off of the path that you're supposed to be on, because then you're constantly like, well, this person, is doing this, or they have this going on. And you just have to stay committed to supporting yourself.
Absolutely. And I think even too, like, it adds another notch of complication, because even within the military community, you could see someone running their race and they're so successful and they've got all this support and they're like chasing their dreams, and you're like, yeah, well, your husband's on shore duty, so like you've got more support around you. And then there's others who are like, success for me looks like I've survived today, because we're on deployment day 300 and we don't know when this is ending.
Yes, absolutely. You just never know what is coming next. All you can keep doing is to keep going and see what you want at the end of the day.
For sure. All right. So here's one last tip I want you to like leave our people with, our listeners. And this can be for military spouses, or this can be just for for someone who's maybe even just like recently married, what would you tell them about their job search journey or what it looks like to have a career? Maybe first married or dating someone or even dating someone in the military.
Yeah, I would say, just starting to get into a career or looking for your next opportunity, there are so many incredible resources out there, so
Mm,
many companies that are working so hard to help you get placed and do what you would like to do. I think, not everybody lives and breathes, online or on LinkedIn or in our world of, just constantly
yep.
getting out there and building a business and all of that. So it's really reaching out to people that are like-minded, somebody that inspires you, someone that maybe is at a company
Mm,
that you really would love to work for, or maybe a path that they've taken that really can help you get to where you want to go. I think the biggest thing that we can do for one another is that buddy system. Find a
yep.
mentor, find someone that can help you get into the door that you want to walk into. It's not going to just magically happen. Nobody can read your mind behind the scenes, and nobody
Nope.
knows what someone else is going through. So you do have to be willing to put yourself out there and to seek the help or advice or the resources that you are needing, because at the end of the day, they're not just going to fall right into your lap. You have to be
No.
willing to take that step. So me personally, I've always, have done research on either companies that I enjoy. I love their culture. I love what they do, their mission, and just started, whether it's following them, reaching out, asking what's available, or if it's entrepreneurship, finding an inspiring entrepreneur that you really have enjoyed their story, how they got started, and just be a part of their journey. Because even though, like you said, you might see somebody that's, got it all going on and they're getting all of these things and whatnot,
Yep.
everybody started somewhere,
Yep.
and you just ask for help. And that's something I learned very quickly. I don't know if you know David Meltzer or not, but his story is so inspiring. And the one thing that he always talks about is you have to ask for help. And asking for help is so, so hard. It's one of the most
Yes.
easiest things, but yet the hardest thing. So I would say ask for help if you're looking, to take that next step, or you just need some advice, or you want to get hired, ask for help.
Love that. All right, listeners. Well, you've received your tips for the day. I think you've got a lot of actionable items that you can go home with when it comes to the journey of, making this world a better place. And so, Monica, thank you for being on the podcast today. Life is better with you in it, because life really is better with you in it. And for everything that you're doing to impact the military spouse community and everything for their families and the first responders and listeners, life really is better with you in it. So do some good stuff in the world. All right. Have a good one. Bye, Monica.
Bye. Thank you.